stuff goes completely ignored. That stuff. All right, blank piece of paper, please. And this is order of operations. Order of operations. Why do we need an order of operations, you ask?
Why do we need an order of operations? Yes.
Well, I guess it's because of this reason here. 10 minus 2 times 3. If you were doing that problem right there, what would the answer to that be? If you were doing that problem there, Zach? 24. And Caleb says no. Caleb, what'd you get for an answer? Caleb got 4. Zach, how did you get 24 and how did you get 4? That is the reason we have order of operations, is because Zach decided to go from left to right, right? 10 minus 2 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24. Caleb said, well, let's do the multiplication first. And this is 6, 10 minus 6 is 4. That is the exact reason we have order of operations, so you don't get mixed up on what your answers are supposed to be. With that being said, write this down. Please.
My dear
Oh. Now you made me lose what I was going to do. Please excuse my dear aunt. We can make up our own, but you guys are not very lifelike, so Sally. And with those, make sure that you are emphasizing the first letter of those, because that's the important part. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. When you are given the choice of orders of things to do, you must follow this pattern. First, you must do parentheses, also known as grouping symbols. Then, step number 2, you have to do exponents, which falls in the same category as powers and roots. And then, step number 3, you have to do, now this is important, multiplication and division, but it must be done from left to right as you read it. Multiplication and division fall under the same level. So if you come up with 2 of them in a problem, you have to do it from left to right. And then the last thing, ladies and gentlemen, you do is addition and subtraction, also from left to right. Okay, got that? Not the first time you've probably heard this, but let's. By the way, what should the answer to this one then have been? If you follow order of operations, there's no parentheses, there's no exponents, there's no roots. The first thing you come to is multiplication. You should in fact do 2 times 3 first, and then 10 minus 6 is 4. That is the correct answer, but we haven't talked about this, so if you didn't get it right, it's not okay. So here's an example. Let's look at something where there's a. Well, let's look at the problem from the book that we skipped. 1 plus 2 plus 3 times 4 plus 5. 1 plus 2 plus 3 times 4 plus 5. If you are doing this in the correct order of operations, again, there's no parentheses, no exponents, no powers. First thing you come to is this multiplication part. 1 plus 2 plus 3 times 4 is 12 plus 5. And then this is all addition, but you need to work at it from left to right. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 12 is 15. 15 plus 5 is 20. Twitch, you're going to say, give us a hard one.
Give us a hard one.
Why let's do something difficult. The book likes to mix it up a little bit with you. Here is one right out of the pages of mathematical infamy. 3 plus 3 times 3 times 3 minus 3 divided by 3. Ready? 3 plus 3 times 3 minus 3 all divided by 3. Wait, no, let me make sure that's right. Yeah, all divided by 3. Shall I let you try?
Yes.
Go ahead and try. Make my day. 3 plus 3 times 3 minus 3 divided by 3. Oh, and then we have so much to go over. Zachary, I'm worried that you did this so quickly. Math was not won in a second. You got answers? Good. Well, here we go. Here's the beauty of this. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Parentheses, correct? And what is 3 minus 3?
0.
Somebody's 0. Now please try. I try to write all this stuff down just because. Now the next thing you should do is multiplication, division. There's 2 of them. There's this and this, but if you're given the choice, you have to start at the left, work your way to the right. 3 times 0 is 0. So now I have 3 plus 0 divided by 3. Next thing you'd have to do is 0 divided by 3, which is 0. And 3 plus 0 is, Zachary, is that it? No, he says. Questions as to why you did not or did get that.
I didn't log on and realize it was 3.
Didn't realize what was 3. What's 3? Now, let's do another one before we get some other ones here. How about this one? 20 minus 2 times 3 squared. 20 minus 2 times 3 squared plus, in parentheses, 7 plus 8 divided by 5. Let me give you a chance to do that. You want me to do it? Give me a chance. Give me a chance. Just follow the rules. By the way, does anybody have a Sally for an aunt?
I do.
Good. Is she smart in math? Because I'm not so sure why we should excuse her. What does she do for a living? Anything?
I honestly have no idea. She lives in Ohio.
Ohio. Like the phrase goes, oh, how I hate Ohio State. That comes from a Michigan fan, by the way. Answers we have, are they correct? I don't know. Layton says what?
5.
Anybody else jumping on the 5 bandwagon? Oh, a couple. Somebody have something else? Alan?
54.
Anybody else 54?
Why?
Oh, Madison.
I put
Anybody else have something
15
else?
instead of
Madison
5.
is 15.
No.
Let's look and see before we have to do it. First thing you run across are the parentheses, so this is first. I would strongly encourage that you rewrite it all just because it looks cool when you're done and you look smarter than you probably really are. Some of you won't do this, but I can't change that. Then the next thing would be to do exponents, powers, and roots, which is this. So now I'm left with 20 minus 2 times 3 times 3 is 9, plus 15 divided by 5. Then you would do, what's next? Multiplication, division from left to right, so you'd have to do this first and then that. I'll do them both in one level. 20 minus 2 times 9 is 18, plus 15 divided by 5 is 3, and then addition, subtraction from left to right. 20 minus 18 is, in fact, 2, and 2 plus 3 is 5. When you get done, if you do it right, you get this tornado-like looking apparatus, and everybody is really happy with it. Now, reason, oh what?
If I put instead of 5 in the first, like after the parentheses, and it was 15, and I got 2, would I have been correct?
I have no idea what you're saying.
Like if instead of saying 20 minus 2 times 3 squared plus in parentheses 7 plus 18 divided by 5, I put after the parentheses divided by 15, and I got 2 as my answer. Would I have been correct?
I have no idea. Now, let's go to one even more confusing still. Be very careful with this here. Check this. This is multiple grouping symbols, and this can throw people for a loop. 10 minus, and then we've got this little shape that I like. It's the brace there. 10 minus 8 minus bracket 6 minus 5 minus 3. Make sure I get this right. Minus parentheses 5 minus 3. And closing, closing, closing. Now you don't have to do this, but let me talk about this before you do it here. Here is a case of multiple grouping symbols. Okay, and you just have to remember that inside grouping symbols, you have to follow order of operations as well. So the first grouping symbol you come to is this one. Well, inside of this, before you do anything with this 10, you have to simplify this whole grouping symbol down to one number. Your answer is going to end up being 10 minus whatever you get in this thing. That's where you're going to end up. Well, inside of that, you then have to follow order of operation, which means you got to follow grouping symbols, which is this one right here. This bracket is a grouping symbol. But then inside of that, in order to solve that, you've got a grouping symbol right here. So the first thing you're going to do is take this 5 minus 3, which is 2. So I've really gotten rid of my parentheses, and now I've worked my way out to my bracket. This is what you got left right now. Then inside that grouping symbol, you're going to do this next because it's a grouping symbol inside a grouping symbol. 6 minus 2 is 4. And that's what I get inside of my little brace. Then inside that, 8 minus 4 is 4, and that's what I end up inside of that. 10 minus 4 is 6. That would be the whole answer for that. And then, not to be outdone by all of this, some things that people don't always recognize or realize that are parentheses, same thing as a parenthesis. A square root sign is the same thing as a grouping symbol. In other words, if you had 10 plus, I don't know, 15 in there, that's a grouping symbol, and you would do that before you do anything else as well. Same thing with this. If you have 10 minus 5 over, I don't know, 6 minus 1. A fraction line is nothing more than a glorified grouping symbol, which means you have to simplify this down to a number, 10 minus 5, and then you have to simplify this down to a number, 5. Then you would do the division part of this, which is 5 and 5, which is 1. So those are things we don't think of as grouping symbols, but necessarily but are grouping symbols. I'm ready to give you another one. Hold on. I lost all of its luster.
Shake it up, baby, now shake it up, baby.
Wow, that might get you added questions instead. Another grouping symbol thing would be absolute value signs. Those are grouping symbols. You do stuff inside of those first, but here we go. Let me give you something here. How about this one? You try this one. 4 plus 11, and then in parentheses wait, sorry, I did that backwards. 4 plus, in parentheses, 11 minus 3 squared times, that's a little dot there, mean times, 2 cubed. I'll give you a chance to see what you think about this one. 4 plus, in parentheses, 11 minus 3 squared times 2 cubed. That really was not very good. I wasn't just saying that to. You know band today? No, so the band people are gone.
Yeah.
Understand your band. You got an answer yet? Layton, you got an answer yet? Don't tell me what it is yet. I don't want anybody to be swayed. Chase, you have an answer? Very confident. Classic answer? Chase, what'd you get?
I got 20.
Anybody else on the 20 bandwagon? Oh, I like it. Some people not. Olivia doesn't know bandwagon or whatever yet. Let's take a quick gander here. First thing, grouping symbols. But remember, inside grouping symbols, you also have to follow order of operations. So before you do the subtracting of this, you have to change that to its whatever it is. 4 plus 11 minus 9 times 2 cubed. Now you can do the rest of the parentheses. 4 plus 2 times 2 cubed. Now exponents and powers. 4 plus 2, 2 to the third power is not 6, it is 8. And then working your way from left to right. Wait, why is that? What did I do wrong? Chase, where did I go? Wait, stop. Oh.
You didn't go wrong.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 20.
No.
No.
It is 20.
You have to do
You still have to multiply 6 and 2. You still have
Oh, I'm
to
sorry,
multiply
yeah.
6.
Then you got to multiply the 8 and the 2, which is 16. 16 plus 4 is in fact 20. Yeah, sorry. I slightly those.
It's okay, Mr. Hunt.
I don't even have an excuse for that. Yes, Olivia.
Technically in PEMDAS, isn't the parentheses supposed to be first before the exponents?
Yeah, but inside the, but see, yes, but in order to do the parentheses, you have to, we'll do the order of operations inside of that. So before you do the subtraction, you have to do the exponent part. So technically, yes, but inside the parentheses, you have to work inside the parentheses. Well, on that sad, sorry mistake of a note,